We've got Steve Helwick on the line breaking down the Group of Five championships for us. Please check out Steve's work at Hustle Belt and Underdog Dynasty on SB Nation. MAC Championship, Kent State and Northern Illinois. I find it interesting that this came right down to the wire with Kent State squeezing into the conference championship game with a 1-point overtime win over Miami of Ohio. That was decisive in the conference championship game appearance. And for NIU, you got to go back to game 8, but they slipped by Central Michigan 39-38. So both teams made the championship game by 1 point.
Yes, Kent State and Northern Illinois played on a midweek thriller back in November. Kent State emerged in a 52-47 fashion. So you can expect a lot of points in this one because these offenses do have a lot to like about them, but the defenses not always. Kent State right now has the top rushing game in the entire nation if you exclude Service Academy triple option based offenses. Kent State, this was their identity last year. They were able to run the ball really well. You have Marquez Cooper, who set his season high in rushing yards last time he played Northern Illinois. He had 173 yards and 2 touchdowns in that game. Xavier Williams got over the century mark also. Then you have a dual threat quarterback in Dustin Crum, who is one of the best dual threat quarterbacks in the country because not only is he a viable runner, Dustin Crum is a very accurate quarterback. He just went 10 games without a single interception, and he's really good at taking care of the ball. With his legs, he had a 114-yard outing just 2 games ago, and he's capable of doing that at any moment because Kent State runs an RPO-based offense, and Dustin Crum really knows how to make good reads in this offense. He's not the fastest runner out there, but he's pretty crafty when he is running. And Kent State's playbook's really crafty too. This team runs a very high-tempo offense. If their games are ever on an ESPN network, you'll usually see a clock in the top corner that has time between plays because that's the speed that this team moves. And it really can throw defenses off. And the last time Kent State played Northern Illinois, Kent State got 31 points in the second quarter alone, which that's the speed that their offense moves at. I think they had 8 scoring possessions in that game, and all 8 were under 2 minutes. So Kent State can really strike with speed, and Northern Illinois is going to have to counter that. And because Northern Illinois can, though, counter that because Kent State's defense really hasn't been good this year. In terms of the rushing defense, Kent State is probably in the hundreds, I think, in the FBS. They're not one of the better rushing defenses. And the pass defense right now is the 4th worst in college football. Last time Northern Illinois played Kent State, Rocky Lombardi, the NIU quarterback, went off for 532 yards, a school record. And their receiver, Trayvon Rudolph, had 309 yards and 3 receptions, which is the highest output by any FBS receiver this year. So expect points, expect absurd stats, and expect some action in this championship game in Detroit on Saturday.
Yeah, Jay Ducker would be the most likely candidate to benefit from the Kent State porous rush defense. He had almost 900 yards this season, should push past 1,000 through the bowl game. Rocky Lombardi, people will remember him possibly from his days at Michigan State. NIU upset Georgia Tech earlier this season. Rocky Lombardi, 13 touchdowns and 7 picks. And again, it's NIU and Kent State. They've got a noon game at, is that another Ford Field matchup as usual?
Yes, back to Detroit. And this is a place that Northern Illinois has really got comfortable at recently. Northern Illinois was a dynasty in the 2010s in terms of the MAC championship. They were in the game every single year from 2010 to 2015. Then they made another appearance in 2018, and they upset Buffalo that night. And this is Thomas Hammock, who has done an incredible coaching job. He was 0-6 last year in that abbreviated pandemic season, and he had a losing record his first year at the helm also. But Thomas Hammock has resurrected this team. They went 8-4 on the season. And Northern Illinois, the thing about them is they know how to win close games. Except for their finale against Western Michigan, where they played a backup quarterback who hadn't taken a snap since his junior year of high school, so the odds were stacked against him. If outside of that Western Michigan game, every single Northern Illinois game in conference play this year came down to 1 score. All 8 of their FBS wins, all 7 of their FBS wins were 1-score games. They won 3 games by 1 point. They won several on game-winning field goals. Northern Illinois knows how to emerge in close fashion, which is an incredible thing to do. It's like the opposite of what Nebraska is doing right now. So I think that's an impressive way that they've been able to close games. And you got to give props to Thomas Hammock and his coaching staff for getting the guys always victorious in those situations. And Kent State, they haven't really lost a close game either. They have 5 losses, and they were all by 21 points or more. So when Kent State loses, they lose bad. The wheels usually fall off. But Kent State, they've been able to emerge in close games too, and they beat NIU by 5 in their last outing. So I think this one could be a pretty intriguing game. And the upset has been pretty common in MAC championship games recently. 2020, 2019, and 2018, the underdog won all 3 of those MAC championship games. So you never know what to expect in this one.
And many of those underdogs, pretty decided underdogs, in specific, Buffalo being a big favorite 1 or 2 times in those MAC championship games. If you're looking for big playmakers, again, on the Kent State side, obviously Dustin Crum rose to some national fame a couple of years ago, leading Kent State to its first bowl win in school history. But Marquez Cooper, over 1,000 yards, 11 touchdowns at running back. Dante Cephas, over 1,000 yards, 71 catches at wide receiver. MAC championship game, Kent and NIU. Do you have a lean on this one, Steve?
I really like the way that Kent State's offense has been moving recently. Northern Illinois, they had a really good offensive game against Kent State a few times ago, but Northern Illinois isn't as consistent offensively as Kent State is. Kent State's probably going to deliver a lot of points on any given game, especially since MAC play. They've really hit their stride recently, and the fact that Kent State's so multidimensional with the way that their run game moves, and also the fact that Dustin Crum can light it up through the air if needed. He had 322 yards in his last game against Northern Illinois. Dante Cephas, Jay-Sean Polk, Keshawn Abram, Nykeem Johnson, the Syracuse transfer. They have a lot of targets in that receiving game that I really like. And Kent State, they're really good at forcing turnovers. Although their defense has some bad numbers this year, they rank 2nd in the country in turnover margin. They take care of the ball, and they're also really good at getting interceptions. Their starting cornerbacks, Montre Miller, has 4 interceptions this year, and Elvis Hines has 3. So Kent State's corners do a really good job of locating the ball and picking it off. So I think that Kent State, factoring in the fact that they have a high a good turnover margin, and the way their offense moves, I really like the Golden Flashes to get their first MAC championship since 1972, and their only MAC championship other than 1972, against a team that is used to winning these.
Jack Lambert, one of the great Hall of Fame linebackers of all time, connected to that Kent State team that, of course, he won 4 Super Bowls with the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I believe, I don't want to incorrectly state this, but it sounds about the time that Nick Saban and Lou Holtz would have been connected to the Kent State program as well.